You are live. Got it on? You got it on. It's good to see somebody out here protesting the communist terrorist state of China. No China. I hear you. Thank you. The United States of America today, there are over 440,000 missing children. And yet, that's not the topic of discussion. In the United States of America, somebody like myself who spent 20 years in the military can go over 900 days without seeing their children. And yet, all of our talk is a foreign policy in dealing with communist China. And rightfully so, because of the human rights violations. What about the human rights violations right here at home? What about 22 veterans a day who kill themselves? What about the lack of discussion about root causes? I have post-traumatic stress. That post-traumatic stress wasn't caused by combat. The post-traumatic stress I have endured has been at the hands of the family court system in Lake County, Illinois. Why is it that in America, our judges enjoy judicial absolute immunity to strip us of our children, strip us of our lives, allow fathers like me and 24 million American children to grow up absent their biological fathers? 24 million American children. I'm glad you guys smile and laugh and you enjoy your time out. No, you're not insulting me. I want you guys to be happy. You should be in America. You should be happy in the United States of America. Only the unity that I see in this country is amongst the most corrupt. The unification that I see is between our congressmen and women in the Republican and Democratic Party. Both parties are equally guilty of stripping fathers like myself of our children, forcing us to pay thousands and thousands in child support while simultaneously keeping us from our kids. I've lost more than 10 friends to suicide. 40,000 Americans a year take their own lives. And we're not talking about the domestic policy that's creating that pandemic. We're not talking about how 24 million American children growing up absent their biological fathers are at increased risk of dropping out of high school, living on welfare, getting pregnant as a teenager, getting an abortion, committing violent crime, abusing drugs. Why does nobody want to discuss that? The discussion is about Black Lives Matter. And 110% Black Lives Matter. Of course they do. Does my life matter? It didn't matter enough for the group of men and women to walk away to even ask me, how hard it's been for me to not see my children. I take issue not with Black Lives Matter, but that somehow as a white man in America, I'm denied my own humanity. Why can I not hurt as a white man in America? I do hurt. I do suffer. What I have endured for the last 6 years of my life has been nothing less than inhumane. I haven't seen or spoken to my children for my daughter in 2.5 years. I've never been found to be unfit. I've never been found to be an endangerment. There's never been an allegation that I've been unfit. Now, $85,000 in attorney fees. $85,000. The average American, the average father can't afford to fight to be a dad, especially those living at and below the poverty line. The deadbeat father is a myth. The majority of men, all men, black, white, Hispanic, Latino, gay, straight, Muslim, all of us have a right to be fathers. We have a right to be dads to our kids, yet we're enduring an unequal justice system that is profiting over $50 billion a year in an industry that is predicated upon taking our children from us and forcing us to fight and spend everything that we have to be in the lives of our kids. What kind of a country did I serve, did I support and defend, where they can so easily take our children? Child Protective Services is an atrocious agency.
Take it away.
Abolish it entirely. I agree.
Take it away.
Take it away.
All the way away.
All the way.
All
I
the way
agree.
away.
As they should.
In my words, they should.
How can they seize children with no warrant? How can they come into your home and violate your due process rights? How can an individual with no actual formal education and training in child psychology show up and take your children from you?
Wake up, America.
How can a judge...
Wake up, America.
Wake up, America, you damn right. How can a
As
judge
you should.
look at me and tell me he's going to punish me for doing what I'm doing right here? You see what I'm doing?
Right.
This is why they took my kids.
Yeah.
I spoke out against Judge Joseph P. Salvi of the 19th Judicial Circuit in Lake County, Illinois. I said, what you're doing, sir, in this court is wrong. I have a right to be a father to my children beyond every other weekend. I am not a visitor to my children. I am a father.
You're a father.
As a father,
You made them.
I made those children
You made them.
with their mother.
As you should.
Do I not enjoy a 14th Amendment right, an equal protection right to raise my children? Is that not the Constitution that I supported and defended? The Constitution is meant to restrain government. It's not a restraint on my rights as a parent. It's a restraint on government from infringing upon my rights and your children's rights. I've not had a daddy-daughter dance. I've not thrown a football with my son in over 700 days. I've not hugged my children. I've not had a Christmas. But you know what I've done? I've paid over $150,000 in child support.
That's what they want you to do.
$85,000 in attorney fees.
For what?
For what?
For what?
All I want to do is be a dad.
Love your children.
My friend Chris Cole, who came with me from North Carolina, he wants to be a dad. He wants to be a father beyond every other weekend. He wants to be able to afford to pay for his own home. And shouldn't we all? If he wants to be equally involved in raising his children, who are we to deny that to him? Who is a judge to deny any man or woman equal access to their children? It is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Apathy is killing America. Our armed services do not support and defend the Constitution. If they did, They would teach them the Constitution. If our armed services actually supported and defended the Constitution, they would not have forgotten about the domestic enemies that are right here at home. The largest threat to our freedom is our ignorance to our rights and the men and women that we elect that have legislated away our ability to actually raise our children and be productive parents in this country. And as a result, we have a mental health crisis of epic proportions because children growing up absent their biological fathers are at far greater risk of having emotional, mental, and behavioral disorders. We're quick to point out the crime in Chicago. We're quick to point out the crime in Atlanta and New Orleans. But we're not quick to point out the failed domestic policy that separated tens of thousands of fathers every single year from their children in these communities. We're not quick to point out that as a result of removing the protector and the provider from the home, that now you have mostly single mothers raising these children, struggling to work 2 and 3 jobs and never home, and while our streets are raising our children. The streets are raising our children. And we're getting exactly what our domestic policy has created. We're getting violence. We're getting 8-year-olds murdered in the street. We're getting 12-year-old boys committing suicide. We're getting children recklessly abusing drugs. We're getting more violent crime. The rates of welfare increase because the protector and the provider, the father, has been pushed out of the picture. Any good single mom out there wants a dad like me involved. Any good single mom out there would say, I would love to have you there equally involved in raising our kids. I want that. Any good single mom out there knows the struggle. She knows how hard it is to do all of the work and all of the heavy lifting of raising and bearing children. And there's millions of fathers out there who are begging and pleading and going bankrupt, fighting to be dads to their kids. Donald Trump told me to send him a note in 2016. I gave that note to Vice President Mike Pence. It's all on video. Donald Trump, in 2016, while you were running for office, I was active duty military, serving this nation in my 20th year in the Navy. And while you were running for president, you said that you cared. You said for me to send you a note. And a week later, I went to Milwaukee and I gave that note to Vice President Mike Pence. And in that note contained my information, my contact information, that I haven't seen or spoken to my children, that the court systems were keeping my children from me. Donald Trump, I'm asking you to keep your word, sir. As my commander-in-chief, I'm asking you to keep your word. I know you're here today. I know there's a recipient of the Medal of Honor here today. I don't know if he's already left. Maybe that gentleman will give me a nod or a shake if he has or hasn't. I don't know. I guess that's a no. He might be a dad too, suffering the same struggle. Donald Trump, you gave me your word. When you said to me to send you a note, I sent you that note. You've had my friend Shane Bouvet in the White House, in your office. You paid for my friend Shane Bouvet. His father is a disabled Army veteran, and you paid for his father's cancer treatments. You paid for all of his medical treatments, and today, my friend's father is still alive because of your generosity, Mr. Trump. You didn't have to do that. Lots of people hate on you, sir, and I understand that because lots of people hate on me too. This man's flying an anti-Trump flag over here, and that's his right. He has that right. I swore to support and defend that right. This man's flying an American flag And he's from, I'm assuming, China. But his bottom one says, wipe out the Communist Party of China. Come here, sir. Come here. Come here. Stand right here. We'll have him stand here. What this man and I have in common goes beyond a flag. It goes beyond borders. It goes far beyond an invisible line. Do you speak English, sir? Some? So very little.
Just a little.
Just a little. So very little English. Do you have children?
Communist Party of China, no.
No.
当 CCP， 消灭中国共产党，当 CCP。
Down with the Communist Party of China. Yes, I would agree with that. And I would also say, down with family law. Down with our judicial system that does not honor the Constitution. We do not need more laws. We have laws that currently protect us and our rights. We need the judiciary to be held accountable. We need absolute immunity to end. Qualified immunity is that which applies to those who are the blue-collar whipping boys of our country. That's qualified immunity. Absolute immunity is for judges. They believe themselves so immune that they can strip us of our children and nothing will happen. Not in my country. Not in this country. That's something that transpires in China, in communist China. That is not something that should be transpiring anywhere in the world, yet it exists right here at home. I will compare some of our draconian policies to Chinese policies because it's inhumane. No person should ever be deprived of their right to their children. I've got a date posted. What's that date, Chris? November 11th?
I think so.
On Veterans Day, I posted an event to scale the White House fence. I'm pretty certain the Secret Service has seen it already. It's a big fence. There's a lot of athletic guys over there, and I'm 42. Show them what I can do, right?
As you should.
As I should.
Hashtag.
Hashtag, as I should.
Terry said it. Terry said it. Tell him that.
Terry said it.
Terry said it.
Terry said it. Wearing a Ford hat. I appreciate you.
My last name.
Hold on, I got to deny this. You got a call coming in.
It's on silent. Don't worry. They can't. It's not vibrating or nothing.
Let Trump know my name. Terry Ford
Terry Ford
said it.
said it.
As he should.
As he should. Amen. But I'm a radical. Did y'all know that? I'm a radical. Got to know that, did you?
Look pretty crazy.
Here, take these for me before they fly away.
He bleeds like he bleeds.
I'm a radical in my own country.
He bleeds like he bleeds.
You know why I'm a radical? Because I dare to believe that the Constitution means something.
He bleeds like he bleeds.
I dare to believe that men and women have a natural God-given right to raise their kids absent interference of the state. That the state's only true purpose is to defend my rights as a citizen.
No one wants to be able to find out how to take your kid.
Say that again?
No one wants to be able to find out how to take your kid.
They shouldn't. You're correct.
Not at all.
Nobody should be able to take our children. Yet in this country, every single day,
You birthed them.
millions of Americans are waking up wondering when they're going to see their kids. Millions of Americans are waking up wondering, can I be a dad today?
Because they was somebody else.
What about tomorrow? Did you know that 53.8% all cases of abuse and neglect occur at the hands of single moms?
They out there being raped and all that.
53.8% of all abuse and neglect cases
Trump, you better wake the
occur at the hands of single mothers. Is that a knock on single mothers? No, it is not.
fuck up, Trump.
It's to say that the importance of fathers is so overwhelming, and that when you place a single mother in the predicament of having to work 2 to 3 jobs, having to leave the children with family, new boyfriends, daycare facilities, that the chances of neglect and abuse increase. Foster parents as a result of not having the protector and the provider.
Tell them how their own kids.
Tell them what?
Have their own kids.
Have their own kids. Have their own damn kids.
I bet
As they should.
I bet they have their own kids.
Hashtag
I
that.
bet no one stole their kid.
I would like for my Judge Janelle Christensen, I got court today. I skipped out.
I bet nobody got the story for that kid.
I called in sick. I needed to come talk to Donald Trump. I didn't want to go to court today because it wasn't really court. It's a kangaroo court where they shit on my rights and take my kids and continue to find arbitrary reasons to deny me access to my children. I have every right to invert this American flag. An inverted American flag is to signal distress in accordance with U.S. flag code. It's not disrespect. I have every right to wear this uniform and continue to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. The greatest domestic enemy I faced in 20 years of military service, or the greatest enemy to the Constitution in 20 years of service, they weren't overseas. They weren't in Afghanistan, not North Korea, not even China. The greatest threat to our Constitution and our freedoms are down at Capitol Hill. The greatest threat to the Constitution and our freedoms are in our state houses, inside our courthouses. That's where American citizens are losing their rights every single day. They legislate away our rights and they create more problems. It's a problem with government. Government isn't your savior. If you haven't figured that out yet, you've been asleep. Government won't save you.
Protection racket.
It is a protection racket.
Come outside. We ain't down here, anybody know.
Donald Trump, sir.
Come outside.
I don't know how long I can stand out here.
Come listen to it.
I feel certain your seat's more comfortable than mine. But I really appreciate it if you found time to honor your word and had me into the White House to have a discussion about family law. A civil discussion between men and between fathers.
You need to run for president.
You want me to run for president? I've heard that a couple times now. Might be something to it. I don't know. I would like for our president to just keep his word. That's all. That may well be true, and we may have another one, and the problems will still exist.
Maybe me.
Maybe you.
Joe Biden.
Well, you wear a Ford hat, so I appreciate that.
Joe Biden.
I like Ford. I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I'm not going to lie to you.
My last name. Joe Biden. That's my last name.
That's your last name?
Full built up. I'm
Bill Ford tough. I like it.
as I should.
Now, I'm not a Joe Biden fan. I'm not going to lie to you. Joe Biden spent, what, 3 decades, 4 decades
Arresting everybody.
passing legislation.
Bring Obama back. He needs another term.
Well, I asked Obama, too. I was here 4 years ago when Obama was in office. I was out here with several hundred parents, as a matter of fact. And
We need a female president.
we need a qualified, competent president who honors and defends the Constitution, whatever that looks like.
We need a female president.
Well, given what some females have done to me, I wouldn't use female as a qualification for president.
Joe Jordan.
In fact, number one, the worst beating I ever took was at the hands of a woman. That was my grandmother.
Flower people.
Yeah, it's been a woman who's kept my children from me for the last 2 years, and right now it's a woman judge who continues to deny me access to my children.
He's the gay president.
Need a guy. I wouldn't use gay as a qualifier either. But I don't think America cares, to be honest with you. America just wants somebody
If you don't leave it,
who's going to support and defend our rights against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
go another way.
I appreciate a lot of the legislation and the things that Donald Trump's done. The problem is that we're either all in or all out. We can't just hold men and women accountable for their individual choices and decisions. Donald Trump signed a right to try policy, right? That if you're terminally ill, you have the right to try medicine not approved by the FDA. That's an amazing thing. Why can't, in this country right now, why can't veterans utilize cannabis instead of opiates? Why can't I safely use cannabis and do no harm to another person and preserve my life? Is my life not worth saving? You see, I see all of these American flags and I see these yellow ribbons tied up on trees. But when it gets right down to it and I really want to talk about what would save my life, nobody wants to talk to me. If I said hugging my children would help me to live another day, nobody wants to help me fight for that. If I said taking my daughter to a daddy-daughter dance would help me to live one more day, why does nobody want to help me fight for that? If I said as a veteran that cannabis has helped me to survive the major depression, and the major depression that has been caused by the courts, I didn't have major depression until I was denied my right as a father. I never attempted suicide until I encountered family courts. We say that we care about 22 veterans a day killing themselves. Quantify that number a little bit better for me, please. That's over 8,000 veterans a year. Are you telling me that 8,000 veterans a year killing themselves isn't worth taking cannabis off as a Schedule I substance because it does hold medicinal value? It holds medicinal value, and I can attest to this because it has saved my life. I don't want to use cannabis. I want to be a father. I want to raise my children. But I have to go bankrupt in the country that I served. In Lake County, Illinois, where I was a reserve sheriff's deputy, I volunteered hundreds and hundreds of hours of my free time away from my children for the county of Lake in Northeast Illinois, defending and preserving the rights of the people in that community, not only as a service member, but also as a reserve sheriff's deputy, because I aspired to go into federal law enforcement. I aspired to something bigger and better. And all of that was stripped from me the day I was told that I wasn't good enough to be a dad. That was all stolen from me. I continued to fight 4 years later. From the first time that I was standing here 4 years ago, on September the 11th, 2016, I stood right here and asked then President Barack Obama, who said, "Dads, you need to step up to the plate." I stepped up, Mr. Obama. I've got your letter in my chest at home thanking me for my service. Is the thanks from my nation to strip me of my children? If that is the thanks that I deserve for 20 years of honorable service, I don't want it. I didn't serve for 20 years to come home to fight the state, to fight the government for my God-given right to be a father. Men like me are done asking for our rights to be parents. These are not given by government. It is inherent to us as human beings. To take someone's child from them is a human rights violation of the most epic proportion. And the fact that we do not discuss 440,000 missing children in this nation right now, and we go about our daily lives talking about Operation COVID. We're talking about everything except the most important thing in our country, our children.
Who made CPS? Who the fuck made CPS?
Government did.
They kidnap your kids. And
More children are trafficked at the hands of this state.
That nigga had a government cheat.
Come on, tell them right here. We got 300 people live on this live feed right now. You tell it. Yes, ma'am. Come on over. You stand right next to it. You tell. There's 300 people watching right now. There might not be 300 people here, but there's 300 people watching right there.
That's all right. Well, my name's Vanessa Wise, and my children has been taken by the government. I'm a ex-military spouse, and we was my ex-husband was a Black Hawk pilot in the United States Army, and they kidnapped my kids and raped them on a military post. And I've been begging for help for years, and when I asked Donald Trump and stuff for help, he covered it up because he had just hired the new chief of the staff of the Army, and it made him look bad. And then they gave Bruce a whole bunch of medications, which caused him to do those acts instead of helping him and giving him the counseling that I asked for. And then they allowed them to kidnap them out of the state of Missouri, which is a parenting kidnapping law that would have prevented it from happening. But I wasn't allowed to make police reports. I wasn't allowed to do anything. Yeah, and it's over 75% of the children, the people incarcerated in the military is child molestation, rape, domestic violence, and it's in our militaries, and it's not fair. And it's not fair to our soldiers that we cannot get the proper help, and it's not fair to the children or the spouses. And I wish that this would never happen to another spouse again. So I'm in 100% agreement that we need to do better for our children and our children or our future. And this man behind us in this house don't care about us. He's not trying to help us. And it's not fair. And I've been out here protesting and begging, and I'm on my 9th day hunger strike begging for help. He left me out here in March. I did a hunger strike in March outside the White House, and I for 14 days, and then I protested from March into May. But then they assaulted me at the Peace Visual tent, tricked me and said that they believed in the Heavenly Father and drugged my drink and raped me. And then when I tried to ask for help, I went back and forth between the Secret Service and the police department. And then finally I was beat badly outside on K Street and 17th Street trying to report the rape. So I've been begging for help over and over again. So I would like some investigations to be done. I want our children to come home. I want CPI to be in trouble for what they did to me and my children as well, because I also got my children on tape begging CPI workers, FBI agents, all type of people for help. So why can't we get the help that we need in our country? It's not fair. And it's time for us to wake up and come together. And he's trying to divide us as a nation. He's trying to use our military against each other. And we're here to help all of us. We all in this country are here to serve and protect one another, to uplift one another, to uphold the laws, teach it, the laws of Yahweh, our Heavenly Father. Spread that love throughout our country and all of the nations. And we don't got to take what this man trying to tell us as the answer, because I know I've been through it. But I know whatever Yahweh made me face and learn and understand through this system, because all of it's broken. He helped me come through it, and he helps me doing it with a smile on my face. So I'm just out here asking for help. And I thank this man for your service. Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry that they is forcing us to fight against one another, because it's not fair. And you do not deserve to come home and get your children taken. You do not deserve not to get the help that you need and you deserve. Because it is programs. And I am for talking, and I believe in that counseling, because I talk all the time and it helps. But they try to deny us our right to talk about what we experience, so we forced to live with it by ourselves. And I'm sorry that they make you go through that, because that's not right, especially when it's programs in the military that's put and designed to prevent these things from happening. But yet they want to constantly cover up the abuse instead of help us. And I'm here standing with you saying I'm against what they're doing to you. And I'm against what they're doing to all of the military spouses, soldiers, and children, because we all serve together. So thank you so much for your service, sir. I was gonna ask you, can I hug you?
Yes, ma'am.
So thank you.
Oh, you gotta make me cry.
Thank
Oh,
you.
thank you, and I'm sorry if they do that to us.
She's gonna get me all teared up too. I'm hard. I don't cry. I'm a crier, man. I'm a mama's boy. I love my mother.
Yeah, and he needs to be heard. So they need to respect him too, because he served.
We are divided as a country.
Yeah, and we don't need to be.
We are divided.
We are.
And it's the extremes of both sides, extreme left and extreme right, on both sides. And it's the few antagonists that divide us. Those are the ones who destroy. They don't build. Imagine if we took, instead of deploying our men and women overseas to police in countries where we don't belong, imagine if Donald Trump, sir, I'm going to ask you, sir, to keep your word and bring my brothers and sisters home. Imagine if we took 1.3 million active duty and reserve men and women and brought them home and put them in our communities to build. To build. You want to tell me that a young black man from the south side of Chicago comes home in his uniform, that his community don't look at him with eyes full of pride and love and adoration for what he's doing? You want to tell me that a young lady from rural Arkansas, from a very poor community, when she comes home, you want to look me in my eye and tell me that her community isn't proud of her? They are proud of her. And said, instead of bringing them home with scars and wounds that they got to heal from, what if we kept them right here at home and built our nation and built our community? What if those skill sets that they learn as military police officers, the men and women serving this country, were in their communities, protecting those communities? That's not running a military state. I'm saying apply them to positive purposes, not negative purposes, not killing, not destroying, not dropping bombs, not destroying communities that I have no idea even exist in the Hindu Kush. If they bring war here, if they bring war to this nation, then fine. We go to war. But it is not men and women overseas that are stripping me of my rights and trampling my rights. That's right here. They need to be here. You ain't got to heal a soldier if you don't hurt a soldier. You know how much good it would do for those men and women that are hurt, that are struggling with depression, that are struggling with post-traumatic stress? You know how much good it would do for them if you said, you know what? We're going to do things a little differently in the good old U.S. of A. I'm not sending you to Afghanistan for 10 months. Instead, we're going to go help California, and we're going to get all these homeless off the streets. We're going to go right down the road from this White House where there's American citizens living in tents right now, not a few blocks from here, men and women standing on these corners, panhandling for change in a nation that is supposed to be the greatest damn nation. I believe we have the potential to be the greatest nation. We have the potential to bring us together. We got the potential to lock arms as men and women, as gay and straight, as Christian and Muslim. We got the potential to lock arms and respect one another.
I bet we got an office bill. We got to wear these masks no more.
We've got an entire. It's not. Look, I'm going to defend Donald Trump for just a moment. Let me defend him for a moment. These problems existed long before this man ever set foot into this White House. And any one of us. Oh, there's my ride now. Hey, they got my ride. There's a helo coming in. Or maybe it's going out. We have the potential to build our country into the greatest nation in the world. One that's not known for dropping bombs, one that's not known for regime changes, one that's not known for creating more problems within its own borders. But we do that with less government, not more government. We don't give more men more control over our lives. It is that control which has harmed us. It is the control that another human being thinks that they know what's best for your life and my life. They don't know what's best for you and your kids. You do. Supreme Courts across the nation has upheld time and again that we have a right to raise our children absent interference of the state. But you know how much money it costs a parent to get their case to the Supreme Court? To get to the Supreme Court, 99% of America will never have their case heard in front of the Supreme Court, no matter how egregious what has happened to them. We will never get there. We are denied access, and that, ma'am, is a violation of your due process rights.
I know eggs have been trying to put them under the color along the place direct from way. For 3 years, the United States Army, and that's why they hurt.
They keep.
They took everything from me, and they threatened my
China!
who actually deserves the help
China!
because I asked them to actually help them for
China!
but we've been even denied that. And you know the military has an open door policy for the spouse.
You know what
Why was we denied? Why was I denied that? And they put me on record denying me the right before my husband even committed the act on my children. I begged for help because I knew he was sick.
He was sick.
Yeah, and I knew he was hurt as a child, and he never watched our children alone.
You just said
So I
it.
begged them to help him, but they denied him.
You just said what's the greatest common factor that we have as men and women. Let me tell you what it is. You know what I have in common with somebody from Southside Chicago? Trauma. Do you know I ran for governor of Illinois?
I'm from St. Louis.
In 2018, I ran against J.B. Pritzker.
I'm from St. Louis.
You do? You work for Congress?
She did.
You ran for Congress.
Yeah, I was working for Heather Stein and House.
Good for you. That's amazing. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Appreciate you. But what I have in common with people from those communities and all across this country, and it unites many of us and we don't realize it. And it's the trauma and the pain that we incurred as children and as adults.
We all survive in America together.
We survive. We shouldn't be surviving in America.
I know.
With 20 years in the military, I shouldn't be surviving in my country. I shouldn't have to use cannabis to manage major depression caused by taking my children from me.
Thank you. That's right.
The state caused the problem.
Thank you.
The state caused the problem. I didn't cause the problem. The state caused the problem. The state said, you know what, sir, you're only good enough for every other weekend. You know, we know you've been in the military for 20 years. We know you missed the birth of your daughter. We know she was 3 months old the first time you saw her. We know you've missed countless Christmases and Thanksgivings and New Year's and funerals of your loved ones. We know you missed all that, but we're going to ask you to sacrifice a little bit more. For the next, let's just go, we'll just take it till your children are 18. When your children are 18, then you can have a full-time relationship with them. But until they turn 18, you're going to need to pay $2,500 a month in child support.
That's not fair.
You're going to need to sit in your front yard after work, watch your kids go by on a school bus, go 3 miles up the road to a babysitter's house, and you're going to need to pay $600 a month for child care costs instead of watching your children that you've been apart from 3 years because of your military service.
Yeah.
Thank you, Judge Salvi. You're a royal piece of shit.
But a lot of military spouses, they really
He's a spineless shitbird is what he is. If this was 1776, I'm telling you right now, if this was 1776, I would be dragging judges and congressmen out and tarring them and feathering them myself.
Hallelujah, we need the corruption out of here.
But it ain't 1776, and I'm trying to do it the peaceful way. But here it is 6 years later, still not seeing my kids, still not speaking to my children, still paying a metric shit ton in child support. You want to talk about a bag of smashed ass? Walk into a family court. Sit down in front of a family court judge and see how they treat parents in there, men and women. This isn't just a fathers only issue.
Child of guardian later. All they do is kill children.
Guardian liners in there. Talking shit.
They're getting angry over here. So I must be striking a nerve, huh?
That guardian liners in there talking shit.
Guardian ad litem? Yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah. Let me tell you about the guardian ad litem in my case, Sally Lichter.
I got 3.
Sally Lichter. Let me tell you about her. She said it's in the best interest of her kids to foreclose on my home.
And that bitch right here got no kids.
She's supposed to be representing my children.
Her kids probably living happily ever after.
Yep. Yep.
Our kids suffering hunger.
They send their kids to Northwestern University and Harvard on our kids' community college fund. They take everything that we make and everything that we're worth. They destroy you as a human being.
And your children.
They bully you. They intimidate you. They talk to you like you're a criminal. You can have the cleanest record on the planet. If you set foot in family court, you set foot in there and you fight for your rights to be a mother or a father, I'll stand by.
Delegated by hundreds of thousands of parents.
They drinking Fiji water. Why we drinking motherfucking Fiji tap water?
440,000 missing American children. Why isn't our military defending and finding our children that have been taken? 440,000 missing American children. 24 million American children growing up absent their biological father. It is not because of deadbeat dads. You didn't have 24 million. You did not have 24 million American fathers wake up one day and go, you know what? I think I'm going to ignore my most basic inner human instinct to protect and provide for my children, and I'm going to go get a beer.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a dad.
Unless they grew up fatherless.
Unless they grew up fatherless. Then the chances of them, or if they grew up with an abusive parent, then the chances of them repeating that same trauma to their children increases exponentially. It is the cycle of trauma that continues, that prevails. It is the lack of mental health services in this country that allows that trauma to continue to prevail in this nation. If you want to end domestic violence, let me tell you how you do it. You make sure healthy, productive men who love and protect their kids are there and involved raising their children. You don't drive them out of the picture. You don't bring in a stepfather to do the work of the biological dad if bio dad says, I want to raise my kids. You get the hell out of the way and you let him raise his kids. If mom and dad aren't together, that happens every day. That is no right to deny them access to their children.
Why are they doing it? Tell them why they're doing it.
Thank you, Chris Cole, for bringing it up. Let me tell you why they are doing it. It's a $50 billion a year industry.
And it goes vice versa, because when a man does the same thing when a woman don't want to be in a better financial situation than a woman, they can go take their kids like I was in the position of. And I was a military spouse, and I didn't work at all. So when my husband got mad because I didn't want to be in a relationship because of the adultery, he came and kidnapped my children. And he used his position as an officer in the military to get what he wanted to cover up what he was doing.
What he's doing. And it happens.
It's not fair either, so it goes both ways.
It does go both ways. Yes, ma'am.
Man and a woman, but it's not fair to the child.
Child, you're right.
And that is where we got to come.
And you know what?
It's not right to do either way.
It's not.
If the parent wants to be an active role, then be an active role. But if you're going to be a negative role, you trying to do and sell drugs around your child, you put them in harmful situations, and stay away from that child and
Absolutely.
get your life
Together.
But anytime you want to be a
don't
part
come
of
to
that
Washington,
child life,
D.C.
get
Right.
your life together, be a part of that child life. Because anytime KB was always able to come back around Carrie.
Let me
First child's father, and I don't care what nobody's saying. I got the pictures to prove.
let me reiterate what Chris Cole said.
Any relationship and it's wrong.
Deadbeats.
What they're doing, deadbeat is a deadbeat.
That's right.
Blame it on a person and try to break their character and try to blame your problems on like the man. You know how they.
Deadbeat. Here's what deadbeats don't do.
Stop lying.
Deadbeats don't fight for equal custody.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I've been called a deadbeat more times than I can count. You know why I was?
Trying to take the child, but equal.
You know why I'm called a deadbeat? I'm called a deadbeat because I can't afford to pay my ex-wife who makes $100,000 a year over $2,000 a month in child support.
Why did you need to?
Even though I asked for equal custody, I said, I'll watch the kids 5 days a week. After school, I'll pick them up from school. I'll take them to activities. I'll do homework. I'll feed them dinner. Nope, not enough. Not enough. No, sir. You need to pay $2,500 a month in child support to a woman making almost $100,000 a year. But because I can't afford that, I'm a deadbeat dad. You know how it feels to be called a deadbeat dad after serving this country for 20 years? Deadbeats don't show up to the White House and ask Donald Trump to keep his word.
Nope.
I talked to Donald Trump. I doubt that he remembers me, but it was in Wisconsin. Deadbeats don't show up to tell the president, sir, you gave me your word. I gave my note to Vice President Mike Pence. So when you guys, all you Secret Service guys, when you see Mr. Pence, remind him that in Milwaukee, I put the note in his hand. My name's Kash Jacksone. And I want to be a father to my kids. What about you fellas? You think that I earned the right to be a dad to my kids? If none of you men committed a crime and you're not a threat to your children, you should have a right to your children. You shouldn't be bankrupted in a family court for your rights. Thank you. You men have a right to be with your kids.
We all want our children back now.
Stop stealing them. Stop
Stop
raping them.
the corruption. We are not commodities.
There's some angry parents out here.
Yes.
I don't blame them.
Stop stealing our children. This country is one of the #1 sex trafficking children in the world. Stop making money off of our children.
400.
Stop raping them. Put them pedophiles in jail and half of them in that White House. Get them out of there. We are tired of y'all raping and hurting our children out here. Give the fathers back their children. Give the mothers back their children. Bring these families back together.
If we were to do that,
That they need.
if we had mothers and fathers raising their children, if they were raising their children the way that God intended, or nature, whatever your belief system, but if they were there raising their children, we would reduce the rates of high school dropouts, thereby reducing the odds of them living on welfare, thereby reducing their odds of committing crime to try and provide for themselves via the black market, via the failed war on drugs. The failed war on drugs is one of the greatest epic failures of this nation. Trillions of dollars spent trying to curb man's choice to do it with his life what he wants.
Oh, you know the government puts the drugs there.
Of course they do. They're peddling out of the VA hospital. That's all they want to give me. You have depression? Yes, I have depression. Why do you have depression? I don't see my children. I haven't seen my children in 2 years. I've spent $85,000 on attorneys fighting for my rights to be a father to my kids.
Are you angry?
So I'm angry about it. Oh, well, you need anger management.
Yeah.
No.
It costs.
You think maybe if you just gave me my kids back, I wouldn't be mad about it anymore?
Why can't you get joint custody with your children? Why haven't you seen your children?
Well, exactly.
Makes no
Let me
sense.
tell you why.
That's
Let me
what
tell you
I'm
why.
going through, too.
Judge Joseph Salvi illegally severed contact with my daughter in March of 2018 while I was running for governor of Illinois
That's why they
against
took
the
your kids.
multi-billionaire J.B. Pritzker, worth $3.2 billion. But you know what Illinois didn't want?
Why they took your kids?
Illinois didn't want a working man.
President of the United States of America, that's when they started attacking me about my children. So, baby, if you want to be a politician and you want to make real change, it's going to stop those rich people from making money off the people and make it equal. That's when they attack you for your children. Because that's what happened to me, and that's why Donald Trump and his Trump force attacked me and my family and destroyed me and my marriage because they seen I had real dreams.
God dreams. And you know what?
But my dream is my reality, and I bet you they can't stop me. Try and stop me from the game.
I like your spirit.
You got a testimony also.
Go ahead and give it.
The corruption of the system.
That's why
Federal
they
and
attacked me.
hospital and
You say
medical
why they
system.
attacked that man?
That
Because
they're making
what he
fucking
was trying to
billions of
do
dollars
was
off of this COVID. They fucking wouldn't diagnose a dislocated leg from an auto accident so they could do surgeries on me making me disabled. drugging me enough that protective service took my kids. Oh, no. I told them we just taken legal doses and legal prescription. So they gave me money to pay bills to show how to be good parents. They wanted to make a mess. 6 years later, I was killing murder. Police would not take a police report. This guy,
I would have hired you.
to leave the hospital.
Thank you.
Later, my
I would have
daughter
got you the
was taken
job.
as a delegation.
All he wanted to do was
When I
make
went
a
back for
positive change.
the
Bring they soldiers home. And that's why
I was
they did
getting
it. And
$670 in disability.
that's why
They
they
were
think
charging
they
me
want to destroy
$1,000
his
a month for her
dream.
care
But
when I
making a
was
real change in his life.
So you got $670 a month in disability, and they were charging you $1,000 a month for her care. Now this is something that we see repeated.
I gave them every of the amenities that my upper middle class parents gave me as a single parent.
But we're bad because we're angry. We're bad because we're mad about it.
Why are you mad?
Why are you mad that we abuse you? Why are you mad about it?
I'm
Wait,
mad because I lost my business in 20 years.
you damn right.
My home was 11 years.
Why are you mad?
What the fuck is that compared to my child?
We should be able to take your kids.
13 years under life because of the 2008 economic collapse. Fucking printing money on the market. I walked for 2 fucking years seeing the corruption of the capitalist system. The golden calf of the Israelites grew into stock market bull. We will slaughter the beast and serve the beast.
She's definitely angry.
Okay.
And I ain't even mad at her about it. Make sure you keep that flag up, brother.
Why are you angry? Just turn it over to him and pray
Sayonara!
about it. It's gonna be okay at the end of the day.
Sayonara!
It's getting wild around here.
Right.
This is getting wild around here. I just came to talk to the president for a minute.
He hears us. So we not only
Mr. Trump, I know you're there, sir. Shane Bouvet sends his regards. You good, buddy? We went on a float trip recently, he and I. I might have got lost in the woods for a minute. So we're going to leave from here soon. We're going to go to the Veterans Administration. We're going to talk to the VA. Let me tell you something about the Veterans Administration. You know what I found? I uncovered something that they don't want to tell people. I found a 3-year study conducted from 2008 to 2010. They surveyed 14,000 homeless veterans. And overwhelmingly, these 14,000 homeless veterans indicated that I believe 5 of their top 10 unmet needs all revolved around the circumstances from family court. The majority of our suicides, okay, what you think's going to happen? You take a man's children, you bankrupt him, you throw him into debtor's prisons, because guess what? When you fall behind on child support, it's an unexpiring lien. You want to talk about those deadbeat dads? 90% of all unpaid child support is by fathers making less than $10,000 a year. They living in poverty. They can't afford no attorney. And without no right to an attorney in a civil court, no right to a trial by jury, they're cycled in and out of a vicious cycle of debtor's prisons. Debtor's prisons and then back onto the street. You know how much money they can garnish if you're behind on child support? 65% of your income. Now, they said the child support. Let me finish real quick, please. They give you a child support order you can't afford, like mine. At the time, it was 44% of my active duty pay. Can the average American lose 44% of their pay right now and then pay all of their bills? No, they cannot. Common sense will tell you that. So you know what they did? A few months after I was out of the Navy, they put me in debtor's prison. Even though I was still paying $1,000 a month in child support, they put me in debtor's prison. In this uniform, they locked me up. I walked in there in this uniform, and Judge Salvi, I call him the shitbird, he had the audacity to tell me not to wear my uniform in his court, as though he has any bearing or right to tell me when and where I can wear this uniform after 20 years of military service. No person, man or woman, can tell me and make me get out of this uniform. They would have to physically remove it off of my body. They ain't gonna be able to do that one.
No, they not.
I got that old man strength.
They're more than that.
I don't mess around. We want to be fathers. We want to be mothers. We don't want our children taken from us. If you do take children, there's a very high standard of clear and convincing evidence. It should be beyond a reasonable doubt with a jury of our peers. Because reasonable men and women would understand.
I'm black. I don't never get a jury of my peers. I'm white.
I guess I can't disagree with you.
I ain't never seen an all black jury on nowhere.
I don't know that I have either.
Hold on.
I have never one time in history seen a jury of my peers. I am an African American woman mixed with a whole bunch of other stuff, including white, but I have never seen a black jury. Not once. And one white person. But I always see an all white jury with one black person or two black people. Let me get a jury of my peers this time. I want an all black jury with one white person.
How you doing, sir? I seen you looking at me a couple times.
All my witnesses are white.
You can come over and say hi, sir. I don't mind.
Well, let's see if it'll work. And I'm not saying it as a racist thing because I am part white child. And I'm Indian. I got all of them tribes.
You know what you are? You human.
Yeah, thank you.
And you beautiful.
I love you.
That's what you are.
Thank you.
You know what? It's these false dichotomies. It's these labels on ourselves that divide us. I ain't white. Look, I got speckles all over me. I got polka dots. You know what? I don't want you to call me white. I'm just a human being. I'm just a man. He's a man. You're a woman. I mean, why can't I hug you? Why can't I hug her? Why can't I hug him? You know what I mean? I'm a hugger. I hug it out. I can't stand Biden. I wouldn't vote for that bastard, but I'd give that guy a hug. He got every right to vote for that man if he so chooses.
I'm a girl.